Hi, it's Pastor Paul Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. It is Terrific Tuesday. It is that day of the week that we thank God for all the wonderful things He's done for us and how terrific His word has been in our lives. Today, as you look with me in Daniel, the 6th chapter, very powerful text, it talks about Daniel and his new situation that he finds himself in. Remember, Daniel has just now been promoted to be one of the key leaders in Babylon. He is one of those who is just right next to the king. So Daniel now finds himself a little bit more capable than all the other administrators and the high officials, because Daniel's great ability, the king made him plans and placed him over the entire empire. You know, it's amazing how Daniel comes to being a person out of obscurity, and that God just constantly moves him up because he's found favor with God. Then all the other administrators who were there, they started finding ways that they can find fault in Daniel. You know how it is. People sometimes get jealous about how God is moving in your life, and you have to always be prepared and always exalt God. Put His name first. Never put anybody down, but always lift up the name of the Lord. And so notice what happened. They couldn't find anything about him. They found out he was faithful, he was responsible, and he was completely trustworthy. So they concluded our only chance of finding grounds in Daniel that we can accuse him is his connection with the rules of his religion. So the administrators and the high officials went to the king and said, "Long live King Darius." They said, "King Darius, we are all in agreement that we as administrators and officials and high leaders and governors, that we are supposed to strictly enforce your law, and we're supposed to keep it without exception. You gave orders that in the next 30 days, if anyone prays to anyone or any divine or human except for you, your majesty, they will be thrown into the lion's den. And now, your majesty, we have found out that there is one who has defied your law, one in whom has great trust. We found out that Daniel has been doing something in his house." The officials went together to Daniel's house. They found him praying and asking God for help. So they went straight to the king and reminded him about the law. And they said, "Did you not sign a law for the next 30 days that no person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except you, your majesty, will be thrown into the lion's den?" "Yes," the king replied, "that decision stands. It is an official law of all the Medes and all the Persians and cannot be revoked." So then they said, "That man Daniel," he doesn't go from being Daniel, but that man Daniel, the one of the captives of Judah, is ignoring your law. He prays to his God not once, but 3 times a day. Now, hearing this, he was deeply troubled. So at last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be arrested and to be thrown into the den of lions. And the king said unto him, "May your God, whom you serve so faithfully, rescue you." And a stone was brought and placed over the mouth of the den. Doesn't that sound so familiar? We've just come off of Easter, and it was always the occasion that when people didn't want things to change, they would put a stone in front of something that would take more than one person to move. The king sealed the stone with a royal seal and set his nobles that no one could rescue Daniel. Then the king returned to the place after he had spent that night fasting. He refused his official entertainment and could not sleep all night. Very early the next morning, the king got up. He hurried to the lion's den. And when he got there, he called out in anguish, "Daniel, servant of the living God, was your God whom you faithfully serve able to rescue you from the lion's den?" Daniel answered to him, "Long live the king. My God sent his angels to shut up the lion's mouth so that they could not hurt me, and have found me innocent in his sight. And you have not wronged me, your majesty." The king was overjoyed, and he ordered Daniel to be lifted up from the den. Not a scratch was found on him, for he trusted his God. I heard an old preacher say many years ago when he was preaching a sermon about Daniel, he said that God had given the lions lockjaw. Their jaws got locked and they wouldn't open. Couldn't you just imagine that sight? Daniel, the one who had put his faith and his trust in God, had been placed in a situation of death. Remember, this was not new to Daniel. Daniel had seen other things before. But one thing was consistent. They were always out to get Daniel, but Daniel had more consistent faith in Almighty God and the promises of his word. My brothers and my sisters, the king realized that all of these men who had tried to set Daniel up for their malicious acts, he had them arrested, had them thrown into the lion's den, along with their wives and their children, because they meant it for evil. And God allowed them to receive exactly what they wanted for someone else. And so King Darius sent out a message to all the people of every race and every nation and the language throughout the world: peace and prosperity to you. I declare that everyone throughout the kingdom should tremble with fear before the God of Daniel. Listen to what he said. For he is the living God, and he will endure forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His rule will never end. He rescues and saves his people. He performs miraculous signs and wonders in the heavens above and on earth. He rescued Daniel from the power of the lion. So Daniel prospered during the reign of Darius and the reign of Cyrus the Persian. It lets us see it doesn't matter whoever the new king is, whoever the new officials are. If we are on God's side, we are always winners. The text lets us see and it helps us to understand the power of God's hand in Daniel's life. Daniel realized that God would be with him. And today I want to remind you and remind me that God is with us, even in the perilous situations that we might find ourselves in. God is always our present help in the time of need. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. And I'll look forward to seeing you on tomorrow.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.